Hello and welcome to Conversations with Reverend G. I am Reverend Grenetta Mason, aka Reverend G. And I'm here every Monday night on WEMS Radio Live, bringing you conversations with guests from all walks of life. We're here every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And you can catch us live on Facebook and on YouTube and on the WEMS radio app. So join me here every Monday with my special guests. We come together and we talk about life, we talk about love, and we talk about spirituality. We talk about spirituality from a practical point of view. How does it support you in your everyday life? And I talk about that spiritual toolkit. What practices do you have in your spiritual toolkit? What are your go to practices? Which ones do you consistently do that support you moment by moment, day by day? I know we've been going through a lot, really hard times right now, but I always look at, well, what can we be grateful for during these times? And I found that a gratitude practice has really supported me when I find myself getting caught up in everything that's going on around me. So when we come together, my guests will share, what practices work for them. We hope that we leave you touched, moved, and inspired, and with something to take away that can support you in your life. And as you know, my motto is to support you in living your best life with joy, with grace and ease. You can find me every day on Facebook with inspirational messages as Reverend Grenetta Mason. I'm also on Instagram as Rev Grenetta. And remember to follow me on YouTube as Reverend Grenetta Mason. I have a very, very special guest tonight. My guest tonight is Jarvis Smith. And we have a huge topic that we're going to talk about tonight. So I'm excited about having Jarvis here to share with us tonight. Hey, Jarvis.
Is what it is. What's happening? What's happening?
How are you?
Groovy like a drive-in movie.
Sounds good. So, Jarvis, introduce yourself. And yeah, we can get into this whole topic of manhood 2020 and how you came up with that title.
Uh,
Talk about.
Jarvis Smith, originally from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm in Virginia now, and I'm living a life as a father and a husband. Working day to day. Manhood 2020 is kind of the ideal of dispelling some of the beliefs that we've instilled in young men growing up, and the things that are not right for us to make a better, more efficient society. Men are the structure of society.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been fed so much foolishness over the years that we now have an outcome of foolishness. I look at all the things that are in our society we're dealing with. And I believe that if we worked harder on the structure of men, as in their growing up, it'll reciprocate in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what we want to bring. We want to start a conversation. I talk to many men in many walks of life, most of them husbands and fathers, and what we're going through on the grind and doing our thing. And that's just where we're trying to get to a point to where we can not only allow those concepts in our home, but then go out and put them into the community and build up our communities. And it's not a black or white thing or a 40-year-old thing or a 20-year-old thing. It's a young man thing. It's a man thing, as far as us teaching our children, us being there for our wives, us being there for each other. So many men are in need of counseling, due to their traumas and their cultural baggages and things of that sort, So that's just some of the things we just trying to break the ice on to better, because if we get our thing strengthened, we can change the world.
You know what? What's interesting about when you said, I'm a big advocate of mental health. So I'd like to like jump in here and talk about, and as you said, as we talk about in our community, and you're talking about the things that we've been taught or learned and how we're passing them on to our kids, there are some things that we have to relearn or, change the way we see them. So when we talk about mental health, as you talk to these men that you're with or your people, what's the mental health talk about? Are they willing to seek help? And have you seen a shift in that whole conversation around mental health?
Well, I mean, I think we haven't even begun to break the ice on mental health for men. When
Mm,
you couple the hats of let's say a father and a husband and what he has going on, he's working his job, and he's dealing with his wife, he's working at his marriage, and he's working with one or two or three or four kids, and then dealing with whatever he did coming out of his life. And most men have that bear down and just fight through it kind of mind frame, and they're not receiving any kind of help to or skills to cope with the situations that they have in life. So I don't feel that, we have begun to go into those discussions, and that's what we need to do. When you're growing up, you're saying, oh, be tough and suck it up, and men don't cry.
mm,
Those things are the things that suppress a man from growing up and even going into wanting to receive any mental health,
mm,
because
mm,
I've been told to not cry. I've been told to, and
mm,
we look at mental health as kind of, I mean, getting some mental health is kind of a complaining or telling somebody how you feel or a talk to
mm,
session, and
mm.
that's not even remotely what it is. I myself going to counseling, and it's not like I went and cried about counseling, but we we got to get to that past that. That's just those stigmas that we raise, men with, in our society. There are women who have young boys who are alone, and they're raising their boys, and they're trying to prepare them for manhood. And whether we telling our ladies telling our boys, don't cry, be tough, da 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 da. Well, when the man gets 25, he's like, I don't need nobody to tell me, I know everything. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
So
mm,
we got to get out of that first, and
mhm,
that starts at
mhm.
a young age.
That's
So if we start there, then we can kind of work on the back front as far as a 45-year-old man and breaking down that glass wall with him. He's like, saying, well, I ain't going to talk to nobody. I'm like, why not? You crazy as hell. You need to go talk to somebody.
right, exactly.
So because of all the things that we're juggling, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm,
I
mm,
speak from my perspective. I can't
mhm,
speak from my wife or your
mhm,
perspective, my mother or my
mhm,
grandmother's,
mhm,
because I'm not in your shoes. But from
mhm,
a man's perspective, being a husband, being a father,
mhm,
working, doing, living life, managing the kingdom,
mhm,
I probably, you would think, man, you need to go talk to somebody. You need to go sit
mhm,
down. But
mhm.
most men aren't doing that, and we got to get away
Yeah,
from it.
yeah, and it's really true. And I find, how do we start to introduce the concept, or how we get to break down the walls? And also, as you said, thinking about it, how many things can you think about at once? If you think about the wife and the kids and all that, you don't really stop to think, oh, well, let me go get some help, right? Until possibly you break all the way down,
Yeah.
right? So, as I think about it, we talk about the young kids, but we need somebody to mentor and show the young kids, and bring them, teach them something different, right? So when I think about, men and what they learn and what they need to learn, and the whole thing you're talking about, being a husband, being a father, breaking down all the stigmas, where does that start and how do we get to them? And I know you have some ideas about how you would like to support men in that way. Talk about how men can really get that support.
I think first, most men, you really need a very strong counsel, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have, didn't grow up in a structured two-parent household where you saw a healthy family dynamic. The,
Mm-hmm.
the family dynamic is broken down so much in our society that it takes away from kids growing up and being fed that ideas and good ideas and positive ideas about their mental health, about their mental state, about a bunch of things. So if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have that, say you're 25, 35 plus, your counsel, and you can judge your counsel if you know what kind of person you are by the kind of people you're hanging around. I can say my counsel now. I can go to my guys and I can say, man, what about this? I call it checking my oil, because that's what we're doing. You checking my oil to make sure everything is running right. And my
Mhm.
guys, they'll tell you more times than not, because I say some crazy stuff. They'll say,
Mhm.
Jarvis, not even close, brother. You were way off track. And they'll
Mhm.
reel me in. And I
Mhm.
rely on them for that. That's good counsel there. It's being a
Mhm.
good catharsis. You need that.
Mhm.
Um, that should be a starting point. Who are you talking to? Are they on the right
Mhm.
path? And what are they
Mhm.
talking about? Do they have the same goals and agendas in mind?
Mhm.
Then we got to get out of these stereotypes. We
Mhm.
think that as men, we have all the answers, because
Mhm.
of the things we come from. There's this show my wife was watching, F is for Family.
Mhm.
And the father is in the 70s, and he served in the Korean War, and he's the prototypical American dad. When they
Mhm.
get on a trip and they're driving, his wife is like, take these directions. He's like, no, we go this way, and he's driving. And before you know it, they lost.
Right. Right. Right.
That's the concept of men, and we're fed that.
Mm.
We're fed that no matter what, I know the best, because of
Mm.
the pressure that's put on you. But we have to accept that, some criticism. There are some things that you can change, some agendas, there's always feedback that we can be given. So I think your group first
Mhm.
needs to be
Yeah.
solid, and
Mhm.
then you got to get rid of some of your excess baggage that you have. So those are
Mhm.
the first two things I would say before you can go into a lot of stuff.
Well, one thing that came to mind when you said your group, and when I think about your group, I think about there's types of groups, right? You can have like I have my close friend groups. I got my little
Hmm.
family group. I got my groups of people that I interact with and that I talk to. But what came to mind for me was community, right? And what is your community? And how do people interact in community? And we create community in many ways. So I think about with you and your motorcycle community, right?
Hmm.
There's a place where you can go and be with like-minded people. Not all, I mean, it's about biking, but you attract certain ones that think in a certain way
Yeah,
that
so
you
yeah,
do.
there's a few.
Right, exactly, right. But the idea is around community. And when you called it your council, yeah, that's really interesting because I have a council too, a group of people that I know will tell me exactly what's going on. But men, do they generally have counsel or they just out? You know what I'm saying? I,
So if yes, I would say
okay.
men generally have a group of men that they can reference and talk to. Um, you can tell the caliber of your counsel based on how upfront you are, or how forthcoming they are with you. So that's the
Okay.
thing. The
Mm-hmm.
men need to check their counsel and see if they're on a good path. You know, for one of the cliches of being a man has been how many women we can get. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
how many women we can sleep with.
Mm-hmm.
Truth be told, you're a good counselor to tell you, hey man, you ain't got to run around all these women. Not saying that uh, you're not going to be around women,
Mm-hmm.
but a good counsel will tell you that running around, especially you get to the 35, 45-year-old mark, if you
Mm-hmm.
have a 45-year-old friend and he's still into chasing women,
Mm-hmm.
to the other 40-year-old men, we're kind of looking at him like, say, bro, what's up? What's up with you? You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
by that time, he can say that he has a good counsel. But if your
Mm-hmm.
counsel is encouraging you to act in a manner which is not in accordance with your age or in accordance with what men, the roles that we should be filling in society.
Mm-hmm.
Because to get down to it, to be honest with you, our real, only true purpose
Mm-hmm.
is to carry on the cycle of life. Not how much money you make, not much how where you stay, none
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to get married and have children and raise families.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares how much money you make in that box. When you get in that
Mm-hmm.
box, the money you make means nothing. So your role is your family.
That is interesting. When I think about you say your role is your family, a part of what you're here, a part of what we do is we want family and to be with family. But what came to mind when we think of roles and responsibilities, right? And we put a lot of emphasis on this is your role, this is my role as a man is this, your role is this, and those kind of things. So in and I think there can be some confusion around all that too, right? Around the labels and the roles that we think we're supposed to play, right? And I know there are men who take care of kids, run households. There's a whole shift in roles and responsibilities, and then just breaking those down. How do we get to do that and express it in a way with our young men where it makes sense?
So for the men, I think we're more of example driven creatures.
Okay.
Uh, you need to see good examples.
Mm,
The problem that attributes to a lot of the problem that we have now. We have a society so full of bad examples that the good examples are overshadowed. You know, uh, bad example would be at any given time when a new pair of Jordans come out, people are going to miss school to go and buy those shoes. Where are the men and where are the fathers that in the neighborhoods that are saying, "Hey man, we're not going to miss school to go buy shoes." You know what I'm
mm,
saying? That's an
mm,
example. Uh,
mm,
when it comes to we talking about not being around all those women, who are the men that are saying, "Well, I've been married for 30 years. I've been married for 25 years." That
mm,
is an example that we need to set. We need to have that.
mm,
Um, those examples, the children will see that,
mm,
just like in a household, when you a man, I walk through the kitchen, I'm gonna put my arms around my woman. I need my kids to see that because they need to see me loving my wife. You
mm,
know,
mm,
my daughters need to see that because if they get with a man and he don't do it like that, then he ain't the one for you. My daddy
mm,
told me the game. My daddy, he was all over my woman. You know what I'm saying? My mom was
mm,
in the stove, bending over, getting the stove, and he
mm.
slapped. You know what I'm saying? He was affectionate to my mom.
Right.
My
Mhm,
sons need to see me, opening the door and being kind to my woman. We're setting an example. Men have to set that example. It's not so much as where we're going to go, we're going to give all this. It's that example and that structure that we bring. So we have to step into the roles and set that. And that
mhm,
I think that's first how we start because it's going to start. You'll never see the struggle happen in one generation.
mm.
Our struggle as Black people, we never saw it in one generation. Harriet Tubman
Right.
was one part, Martin Luther King was one part, and
Mhm,
I'm another part. That's three
mhm.
different lifetimes
Right.
in this struggle. So with
Mhm,
the struggle of keeping families and keeping the world going and playing our role,
mhm.
it's gonna take time and that demonstration for us to show. So it starts there with I think with us.
So let me ask you. This is interesting for me. And I heard you said that your role is to be husbands and fathers, right? So if we were to like shift the consciousness of men around that whole concept of a part of it is to be fathers and raise kids and families to keep everything moving, right? Um how do you get that message across, and what do you think would change? What would be the impact if that were the shift?
So you look at I'm not gonna put a designated number, but let's say an estimated number of 70% of the community problems, right?
Okay.
Whether it be teenage pregnancy or the use of drugs or our failed marriage rate in this country, it, men at some point played a role in it. You
Okay.
know, uh, we have numbers that we can put on ladies, but I feel that it's not their fault if they saw the demonstration from men a generation prior to them. You know,
Mm.
in the 60s and the 70s in our community, men were forced out of the household.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 80s, you saw the effect with Reaganomics and crime and cocaine and all those things taking the place of men in our household. And then it tumbled from there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the truth, when you get down to the root of it, it was the absence of men. Everything I'm basically putting on is the absence of men. I don't blame women because men feel the role. And if you're a man and you're a stand-up man, women will come and be around you and will get in line. You know what I'm saying? They will want to be around you. They'll want to know. I don't mean in line like you got to.
Okay, you should be.
I'm not that kind of. I'm not that kind of cat. You ain't got to.
You saw me. I was like, what?
No. But I'm serious.
I know what you mean. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you're a stand-up guy, people are going to want to be around you, men and women. I have a hard time myself going in a place where people don't like me. Everybody want to hang out with Quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm not arrogant. I just that I'm cool. Right. So if you're stand up, if you're about something, if you have integrity, if you have a presence, when you put it down, when you 10 toes, it's undeniable, and people will come and they'll get with you and they'll be, in tune like you in tune. So that's just we gotta have that presence. We gotta have presence,
And I'm all with that presence because I heard you say the emphasis is not always on the guys that are doing it. What are you say? So we need examples. What are the examples our kids are seeing, right? And I do remember at one time the only examples were they wanted to either be a sports player or a musician or something, right? So now you're seeing the shift where we're seeing more and more information about what examples, right? I'll just call it more and more examples of things that we can achieve, right? More and more examples. And I agree with you on that. I don't have any statistics on what it looks like now, right, where the fathers are not in the homes, but I can say that if so many Black men are in prison, then they're not in the homes, right? And if I could say, but I don't have the statistics on that. And you don't necessarily hear about that. They don't talk about the ones that are making a difference in the home, doing what they're supposed to do. So I like this whole focus on being a husband and a father and bringing that to the forefront.
Well, Rev G, I wasn't going to come with the statistics, but I have been looking them up. Yeah. I've been looking it up.
Okay.
So in our community, 30% of Black men are married. Okay. 54% of Black men are not married and don't have any children.
Wow.
61% of Black men live in the middle class range. That's what, $50,000 to $85,000 a year. So we have an extreme example in our community. Okay. And I tell people, if you're unaware, just do the circle around you. You can do your own little statistical evidence. You or I know out of my 10 good friends, I know 8 of them are dads and they're home right now with their kids and their wife.
Birds of a feather flock together.
But in that, we know that about 16% of our 12% of the men in our community are in jail. 16% are unmarried with children. But 80% of our children are out of wedlock. are born out of wedlock. So that means the same old men, the same little handful of men are recycled and recycled and recycled, and they're having children. They're having children. You got same guys that are, one guy, he got 10 kids and 5 baby mamas, or one guy, he got 6 kids and 4 baby mamas. Those are 1 or 2 guys. Very rare do you meet one guy who, and I'll say, I'm not above it. You know me, and I'll tell my story. I am a father of 5. However, there's my wife and there's 2 other women.
Right.
Okay.
You got 3 baby mama and 5 kids.
5 kids. Yeah, you know what it is. But I also, this is one of the reasons why I'm on the kick that I'm on, because of the decisions that I've made. I'm not just speaking from a high and mighty post. I've been in the mud. You know what I'm saying? I got 2 children that are pretty much the same age, and they're both here with me in this house with my wife and I, and we are parenting day to day, trying to teach them to make them better people so they don't make the decisions that we made. It's easy to, one of your casters might say, look, I can't trust him. He's done the same thing. Yeah. But where are we going as a unit, as a group, as a whole to make it better? You know,
Mhm.
we can always dwell on the number of people who are incarcerated or the people who didn't do and this and that and that. But
Mhm.
where are we going to make it better? And
Mhm.
once again, that starts with men. I'm a man
Mhm.
that's going to say, I've done this, but I strive to do better. So therefore, my kids, all of them, they're here. And they're
Mhm.
learning from me, and I'm teaching them to do better than me. I'm telling my sons, you ain't got to run around with a bunch of women. Don't
Mhm.
do it. You know, in fact, I'm telling my sons, this thing you got is so precious that every woman can't get it. So I
A
just
whole
that's just
nother
me.
message. A
Yes,
whole
that's
different
you
message.
know, I really because we teach young ladies about maintaining their virginity.
Mhm.
Why
We
don't we teach young men about maintaining their virginity?
Well, nobody thought to teach them that, right? No, because
Exactly. We nobody cares. We don't, you
yeah.
know, but look now, if we had, we might get rid of that 16% of men that are having all these illegitimate children.
Mm.
If we
Mhm.
encourage young boys to be as protective with their sperm, to
Mhm.
not compromise their sperm,
Right.
then in the future you may
Mhm.
see a lot less illegitimate children.
Mhm. I know you talk about compromising your sperm, right? That's one of your terms, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And yeah, I mean, and that is an interesting concept because that's not taught because little men, and I don't know, men were praised for the number of women that they slept with. So it was an honor and a badge of honor to be able to say that, right? And
Mm.
if you weren't, you were like, they thought something was wrong with you. So shifting all that, but the concept of shifting it, I like what you're saying. It's not a matter of shifting it, it's going from this is not this is a negative thing to do or whatever, but shifting it from the perspective of honoring your body and understanding what it is that you're doing and not compromising your sperm, I guess is the
Yeah.
whole idea, right?
Yeah.
Because
Not com- if most men thought about the after effect, the harm that you put your child in, you know,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not gonna and the reason I say most men, because these men are going to teach their daughters, and therefore their daughters will think about the after effect. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I say it all starts with men.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of ladies are right now wishing, man, I never slept with that guy. You know, not to say they don't love their children, but
Mm-hmm.
had you been more protective of yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been dealing with, you know, that adverse opportunity that came into your life, you know. But that
Mm-hmm.
also starts with a man.
Mm-hmm.
You are bringing semen, is the seed. Semen
Mm-hmm.
derives from the Latin word seed, you know. If you
Mm-hmm.
protect your seed, you know, and that means I'm not putting my seed into something, it needs to be fruitful and it needs to grow and it needs to be able to bring me something back, you know, a good harvest.
Right.
But we ain't taught that.
Right.
We just
No.
spreading that seed everywhere. Let it
Right.
go. You know what I'm saying? Just anywhere
Listen,
we can, you know.
right.
So we got to get away from that.
Mhm.
That is it's not yielding. We can see right now, look at our society. It's not yielding a good product.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
I can only go based on results. I tell my children, you got excuses and you got results.
Mhm.
That's the only thing you can
Yeah.
come to me with.
Mhm.
And right now, we're not yielding good results. So
Mhm.
gotta protect your semen.
Right. Right. Protect. I know you have the five kids, and I know that you are a Navy family, a military family. So, based on being a military family, can you talk about how you raised the kids based on you and your wife's experience in the Navy?
So I think the Navy gave me, you know, with let me start again. Black people, African Americans,
Mhm.
we're raised in a certain kind of way in this country, and a lot of that has to do with our upbringing from slavery and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And traditionally, in the black family, you getting a whooping. You get out
Right.
of pocket, they breaking out the belt or go give me the switch.
Mhm.
The military has taught us how to uh, train in more efficient and effective manners. You
Okay.
know, um, my wife and I, we always got a creative way to motivate the children, and that's what the military does. The military I always got a brand new way to get you in line that does not necessarily result in me uh, beating you with a belt or hand or whatever it
Mm,
is your
mm,
tactics you're using.
mm,
And a lot of times discipline has to be a mental thing. It's a psychological thing. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
You're
mhm.
trained in the military under more disciplinary action, mental action than you are physical. The physical strain in the military is about 10%. Anybody, should be able to do a push-up. That's
Right.
why the age range is from 18 to 24. But
Mhm,
the mental aspect, and that's what we in the my wife and I, we try to touch the kids here in their mind, because
mhm,
those things in your mind last longer.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
always the thing. I mean, I'm 41 years old now, and I can still hear something that my mom taught me when I was 11.
mhm,
My
mhm.
mom has always been here in my mind, talking to me, getting the message across. Things that my father may have said to me or my grandmother may have said to me. It's stuck here.
Mhm.
Never just because you can beat a person for 10
Yeah.
seconds and how whooping don't last long.
Right.
And then
Right.
once
I
you're
gotta get
done,
it over with it. Right.
once
Right.
you're done, the kid go cry, they go in the room and they go play their
Mhm,
PlayStation. But
mhm,
if you bust the grape up here, and it may not happen overnight. You'll never see the end of the struggle happen in one generation. Once again, there are
mhm.
things that were said to me at the age of 9, 10, 11 that is still playing out.
Yeah.
My father said stuff to me years ago, and I'll be thinking about it. I'm like, that old crazy joker was right. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right.
So, but
Right.
it's
Right.
here. It
Right.
was never a whipping.
Mhm,
So what we have in the military is a lot of mental discipline. You know what I'm saying? If you're not
mhm,
mentally disciplined in the
mhm,
military, you are sure to fail. You can't
mhm,
handle
mhm.
because the physical, if your mind will make your body overcome the physical.
Yeah. Mhm,
Every branch of the military towards the end of their basic training has a evolution where they keep the boot campers or the recruits up for an excess of 24 hours,
mhm,
sometimes 48 hours.
mhm,
That is a mental exercise. Can you handle
mhm,
pressure when you've been up for 36 hours?
mm,
That
mhm,
is the training.
mhm,
So we try to encourage a lot of thought from here. You
mhm.
know, if you sit in the push-up position and say your ABCs, you'll get them. You'll get them quick. It'll wear on your mind. So we
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
that's what
that
the
is
military does.
interesting, because it comes to mind when I think about, you know, how parents would say, no, we don't reason with kids. You just do it because I said. You don't have a conversation about it. This is what I said. So to move to like opening up for them to respond and speak and get in their head and all that, it's a new way, I would say. Not so new, but we would have to get rid of all of the old ways that we've done it, like
Hmm.
spanking the kid, no, you can't, and just thinking about it. So I find it interesting, I would how your kids have received this mental kind of way of thinking,
Yeah.
right? And are there disciplinary problems with them in any way? And I'm saying, what's the impact of it?
So in my house,
Mhm.
we are pretty liberal parents.
Okay.
We have two children who are exceptional family member children, and we're
Mhm.
dealing with them.
Mhm.
Um, Discipline. I don't use the word discipline. I want to say training or preparation. We are disciplining our children, but training and preparation is more the concept. When you become a
Okay.
parent, that's what we lose track of. When you become a
Mhm.
parent, your whole job, the whole purpose is for you to train this little person to go out into the world.
Mhm.
It's not about the cute little booties we put on their feet and their
Mhm.
hands and their outfits and the school
Mhm.
pictures and if they're going to win the pageant when they're in the third grade. None of that matters.
Mhm.
Your success is truly predicated on the fact that if they go out into the world at the age of 17, 18 years old and they accomplish something.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter whether they was in the play when they were in the third grade if they're still at your house on the couch at 25.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I
How
don't
you prepared them. It's about the preparation,
how
right?
you prepare them. You know, and
Right.
say,
Right.
I'm not judging anybody's parenting
Right.
style,
Right.
but there's results and there's excuses.
Mm.
I have I graduated from high school in '98, so a lot of my friends I may see on social media, they've said things like, "Oh, don't put your kid out at 18 years old." And my thing is, you've had 18 years, and y'all still ain't ready.
Right. Right.
What are you waiting on? What plan are you going to invoke? Because at 16, 14, my wife sit down with my kids and she showed them how to write a check, how to balance a checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about APR. We've talked about taking out a loan. We've talked about going to the utility company. We've talked to them about finance rates. These are real skills. Spanish one, not really a real skill. You know what I'm saying? These are real skills that you need into the world, you know, to go out into the world. And now I have an 18-year-old, and we're proud of him because we're seeing the effects of our training. He's
Okay.
coming to us and he's reciprocating the training. Okay, Dad, this is what I got to do. You know, he's 18. I'm not expecting perfection. You know, he just graduated from boot camp, so I'm expecting him to come back and make some problems, and you know, because he's 18 and still learning. But preparation. So I'm not disciplining you because I just want total authoritarian rule. No, it's not my way or the highway.
No.
I'm getting you ready to get out. Fixing your bed, cleaning up, doing the dishes is not because I feel such a way about my house. It's because I need you to have your own house. And I need you to do dishes in your house. Now, when you get to your house, you can do this however you want to do. But I'm showing you the standard way to get it done so that it's the most efficient. And some people may call that discipline. I'm not disciplining you. I'm training you. I know you and I both know that what we're teaching kids in school from K to 12 is not really what they need to survive in the world. But school provides a certain amount of structure from day one. When they go to school, they stand in the line and they got a line leader. What do we do 85% of our time as adults? We in line. We at the DMV in line. We at the bank in line. We at the grocery store in line. So we're training the children. We're training the children. I need you to go in there and sit for 8 hours and do your task. Why? Because you're going to have to get a job and sit in there for 8 hours and do your tasks. So that's what, I mean, I'm not disciplined. I don't want to say the discipline. I'm training. I'm training people to go out and
training and preparation, right?
Preparation.
I mean, and that sounds. I can make training and preparation fun, right? Rather than, you know, it has a lighter ring to it and a more promising ring to it than discipline, you know? So it's interesting. I wanted to shift a bit because on this show we do talk about spirituality, the Reverend G show right now.
No doubt.
I wanted to get some time for you to talk about your spiritual journey. You know, I know you grew up in the church, but what happened as you now are 40?
So yeah, I grew up in the church in the South, and you know how it is. We go to church every day, all day, you know. And when you're 6, you don't understand. Of course, you know I was in the youth choir, and you know, my mom's an usher and all those things. You know, my grandma sung in the choir. And both sides of my family, my father and my mother. You know, my father even got in the pulpit at some point in time, which that's a whole nother story. Religion and spirituality to me have become two different things.
Right.
And I learned that in my growth as an adult, because when things weren't going according to plan for me, that's my dogs. I got upset because of religion. The religion upset me because you think about what you're told in the church.
Okay.
This gonna happen, and the Lord said, and all that there, and what's going on. That has nothing to do with your spirit. Your spirit has to be calm and allow the things of the world to work for you. You know what I'm saying? I feel a lot of times in church, we're having church, we're getting religious teachings, we're not getting any spiritual motivation. You know what I'm saying? The
Mm,
church is
mhm,
spiritual. I mean, the church may be there emblematically trying to talk about the spirit, but how do we really cater to people's spirit and their spiritual motivation? So
mhm,
I, when I got to a certain point, uh, I just kind of not say that I don't follow it. I don't really delve into any religious aspects. I just focus more on my spirit and how it kept me in that peace. Uh,
mhm,
I'll be the first to tell you, I'll go to church, or we did go to church. After they get done singing, I'm ready to go
mm,
because
mhm,
the songs uplifted my spirit. They
mhm,
brought something to my spirit. That music is a real big thing for me anyway. But that
mhm,
spoke to my spirit, and that put me in a good space. You need to have a good spiritual space. You know,
mm,
it's some people that can't stand their coworkers, but
mhm,
they go to church on Sunday to keep somebody from getting kicked in the teeth on Wednesday. It's a
mm,
spiritual aspect. It has nothing to do with religion. There,
mhm,
because your spirit is what drives you into, your actions in the world.
mhm.
Religion has never saved anybody. Matter of fact, religion has caused war. So
Right.
religion definitely is not saving the actions of the world.
Mhm,
So for me, I was raised in the church, and I a lot of the lessons of religion are great. The things that they're teaching, the examples that the Bible gives. Some of them I can't get down with, but most
mhm,
religious ideas are great for
mhm,
certain people. I know a
mhm,
lot of people who religion keeps them from becoming serial killers,
mm,
but
mhm,
spiritually is a totally different thing, and you have to
mhm,
find your own spiritual peace. So I
mhm.
just had to separate myself, and I seek my spiritual growth. And since then, be honest with you, Reverend G, I've been spiritually developing every day.
Mhm,
Every day,
mhm,
when I
mhm,
start excluding religion from my life,
mhm,
you know, I've always felt a growth in my spirit. You know what I'm saying? I think
mhm,
I feel the
mhm,
spirit more now than I ever
mhm,
felt being in a church.
mhm,
So
mhm,
that's me. But
mhm.
I had to do it on my own personal work, and that's kind of some of the stuff that I went through. But you just have to find your growth.
So, okay. So here's my question about the kids. What and how are you teaching them? Since you don't go to church, they probably don't go to church, right?
Not
And
true.
so, oh, they go to church?
They've gone, or
Okay.
they go when they feel like my middle daughter, not my middle daughter, my youngest daughter is a real big advocate of the Christian faith. She
Okay.
uh, she asks us to go from time to time. She's not a regular everyday Bible thumper because we don't push any specific religion.
Okay.
My middle son, he reads from time to time about Buddhism and stuff. He kind of is into Asian culture, so he reads about Buddhism or Hinduism and things of that nature. So they are open to religion, and we always have, as many as we can, spiritual conversations. We kind of indulge them in their spirit, and then we try to read our spirits. My youngest son, he just has the greatest spirit. If you ever he's one of those people. He's going to hug everybody he meets. In
Mm,
his heart,
mhm,
his spirit is so good. And when you meet and talk to him and touch him and be around JJ, you'll
mhm,
see his spirit. He's one of those guys. When he comes in the room, you can feel him.
mm,
So,
mm,
and to be honest with you, there is not a building in the United States that I could take him in to show him that. There's not a church in the country that I could indulge
mm,
that
mhm,
spiritual thing in him.
mhm, mhm,
Um,
mhm,
my wife and I, we're into. I'm a Mason. She's an Eastern Star. So some of those things we learn in that. There's a lot of religious or spiritual growth in that, and we've read
mhm,
from the Bible to them and showed them things on our own.
mhm,
But as far as pushing a religion, never pushed. My kids
mhm,
have grown out and they've asked about it on their own, but we are leaving it open for their interpretation, and we're providing spiritual guidance. We're more focused on telling them to be good people, good in
mhm,
spirit, good with your
mhm,
heart. Don't,
mhm,
I don't have to tell, I don't need a building to tell you not to rob, steal, kill, cheat, hurt people. And if you cover the bases, your spirit will be covered. You know, now
mhm.
you can decide on your own whether you want to tithe. That's on you.
Right.
You want to
How
keep
you
it,
want to
that's
do your
on you.
money?
Yeah,
Right.
you want to get your money, that's on you. But your
Mm,
spirit, that's definitely where we're at.
Mhm. I talk about the spiritual toolkit, right? And I know
Mhm.
you mentioned a lot of different religions and how you guys are open and the kids can explore, and you're there to support them in how they want to express their spirituality, which is really great. Do you have, what would you say are your spiritual practices? What does your spiritual toolkit consist of?
Um, you mean we? I I got a thing about me where I can go and get quiet, and I can
Mm-hmm.
get quiet in a room full of people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my time that I talk to God is in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
What a guy.
yeah, we go in there and you go in there because you're alone, and I let it all out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Mm-hmm.
a it's a very unstructured conversation because I feel like this thing that you see on the camera, this is the
Mm-hmm.
machine.
Mm.
The spirit is Jarvis, the inside,
Mhm,
the
mhm,
real inside of me. So if we're talking about a spiritual, a divine aspect, a divinity, which is a spirit, and
mhm,
I'm a spirit, then we communicate in that level, you know.
mhm, mhm,
So therefore, I can be anywhere and have a spiritual communication,
mhm,
and that's
mhm,
just me. I can
mhm,
get my feelings, and with my wife knows me. I can turn to real nasty sometimes, but
mhm,
I I get in my feelings, and I can just kind of get quiet and indulge into my spirit, and work through it on its own, and that's when you allow it to work through you and become better.
mhm,
Like I said, there
mhm,
has to be growth every day. You have to be accepting in that spirit. If we
mhm,
are of the same spirit, if our spirits talk, if they communicate, I believe spirits do,
mhm,
because everybody has a family member. You can hear their voice, so you are reminded, and they've passed from this world. That is a spiritual communication. You know,
mhm,
whether
mhm,
it be a grandmother or aunt or cousin or whatever, they their spirit is still here. Their
mhm,
spirits are in tune.
mhm,
We don't know. We have no clue. So we believe that the spirit is going off
mhm, mhm.
because we have no clue. So
No, we make it up.
we make it up. We come up with our own thing.
Yeah, right,
Uh,
right.
but as far as me, my spirits, I go into a place in my spirit. You know,
Okay, I agree.
not so much as a physical. You got to get on your knees because that's a
Mhm.
physical.
Right,
Praying
right.
and holding your hands and closing your eyes, that's
Mhm,
physical. Because
mhm, mhm,
as I said, in that church, when I was in church and I was little and they were praying, the whole church was praying, and my
mhm,
eyes was closed, but
mhm.
my spirit was not involved.
Right, right,
You
right. I
know,
hear you.
Yeah,
Mhm,
so
mhm,
uh, it's just that's the growth for me. From my tools are in me. I work
mhm.
myself.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting how you go into a quiet room. It makes me think of like meditation, going within, contemplating, that kind of thing. And I love the water too, so I have water moments. So I love the shower is one of my best practices, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
That I do, right? But I consistently meditate, and we talked about music earlier, and I was right with you when you talked about how music makes uplifts your spirit. I love the way that whole thing about uplifting your spirit. That's what I like about music, right? And I like gospel music, but sometimes I think about gospel music. It really uplifts my spirit, but sometimes I want to change the lyrics, right?
Hmm.
To some of them, right? Because it's really the music. But music, I know, is important to you, right? And what talk about your music experience?
Um, well, I listen to just about everything. Uh,
Mm.
I'm like I said from Memphis, and
Oh, okay. Memphis got some music, right?
Memphis is where it's at. Uh, you can't stroll through Memphis and not hear some music. You grow
Mm,
up. Everybody's familiar with Elvis Presley, but a lot of people don't know that when he was raised in the area of Lamar Terrace to get to Sun Studios, he had to cross about 50 churches and Midtown, downtown South Memphis. You
Mm-mm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
Stax Records is right in that little area, that little scope of music in Beale Street. And, you know, we in the South, you got TSU and Jackson State and the Sonic Boom and the Chris Credit South. Music is a part of life, you know. Even going back to the drum, the original drum comes from the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
That rhythm is in your soul. Music is, you
Mm-hmm.
know, a part of life in every genre: rock,
Mm-hmm.
gospel, jazz, hip hop, R&B, swing, ragtop, whatever it is. So uh, for me, music just puts you in a mode. Whatever it is, your mode. You didn't, and that once again, that's your spirituality. You know, I can be listening to uh, some of if I'm feeling like being crazy, then I'm listening to something crazy. You know what I'm saying? When I'm on my motorcycle and Jimi Hendrix is blaring out of my speakers and I'm going down the highway, my feet are kicked up, my spirit is in a whole nother realm. So uh me and music, it's just a comforting mode. It's always I can, you know, I was nervous before I called before we got on this and I turned on the
Mm-hmm.
radio and it kind of
Mm.
just brought me
But
down and you know, put me in the mode, you know.
yeah, yeah. So that's like a, I like it because that's a spiritual practice. That's what I call a spiritual practice. It's like what supports you, right? And
Definitely.
and each time when people come on and we talk about it, it's really not just about the typical praying or the meditating, right? But it's different from every person. You didn't say, "Oh, I go and I meditate," and you say, "I just go get quiet." Hey,
Mm-hmm.
that's a practice, right? That
Yeah.
supports you. And you go within. And the whole idea of everything is from within because I believe that my connection to God is within me. And so if I can get quiet and have that communication and go within, then that's the communication that I do, right? And I also talk about how do you hear though? How do you hear your messages? How are you in tune enough to know what your next move is or how you should proceed with anything that you're having a problem with? Like I said, I get clarity when I meditate, and then I know what moves to make.
For me, I think part of my growth has had to come with me and patience.
Mm. That's
I
my word of the year. Isn't
Yeah,
that interesting, right?
I have not. So when I was growing up, I things that weren't really difficult to me.
Mm,
And when I got to be a young man, things weren't difficult to me. So I kind of life spoiled me. I
mm,
felt like it should happen now. I go to
mm,
school, you show me in the book, I read it, I got it. You know,
mm,
we play
mm,
a sport, you show me once, I got it, you know.
mm,
And it got to a point to where when life really settled in, and to be honest with you, it really settled in when I got married and had children, that it wasn't about it just happening now. I had to be
mm,
patient and wait.
mm,
So now when I go into that spiritual space, I have to sit back and wait on it. You know, I am my own worst enemy. My wife,
mm,
she keeps me in line with that because when
mm.
things don't happen when I think they should happen,
Mhm.
oh, it's going down. I am in
Mm,
full out mode. I lose it, you
mm.
know. And she check my oil too, you know, saying a good woman
Mhm,
will check her husband's oil. She baby, not right now. Chill out,
mhm,
calm down, take
mhm,
go sit
mhm,
down, you know, do your thing. So with
mhm,
me, uh it's the waiting. It's going
mhm,
to come to me. It's come to me for 41 years. I was
mhm,
born into this, born to do this. You know,
mm,
this is, and that's what I say about your purpose in life.
mhm,
Making $1 million means nothing. The Pharaohs proved that making millions of dollars mean nothing. They buried their money with them, and look where it's at right now, still in them tombs.
mhm,
But the legacy is what carries on forever.
mhm,
So we have to be patient in the legacy. All you have to do is go to your space, get
mhm,
right in your space, and you tell uh, yourself, your spiritual being, whatever it may be, and then you have to sit back and wait for it to manifest.
yeah.
I have a
Mhm,
friend who always says, "You want to make God laugh? Tell him your plan."
Mhm.
You
Right.
know, and he
Right.
is so point on when he says it. You know, I
Mhm.
laugh at him, but he has a point because it's not going to happen until it's supposed to happen.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everything happens when it's supposed to
Both
happen.
of them. Right.
You
That's
just
true.
have to address it and work and be ready to do the work within it. You know, I
Mhm.
never would have thought I'd be a father of five and be here in the world and doing the work that I'm doing. I never
Mhm.
thought I would be a husband, but
Mhm.
I'm here and I'm
Mhm.
doing the work. And
Mhm.
I, at one point, I asked God to like, man, come get these kids and this woman. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Because it
Right.
wasn't what I wanted,
Mhm.
but when it's supposed to happen, it will happen, and it's
Mhm.
happening. You know, it's the
Mhm.
work is being done. So
That's true. We don't have that much time left, but I wanted to ask you, like, what impact, right, would you like to have, right? And what important message would you like to leave today? And then for future conversations, because I think that there's so many things to talk about. And I think that the things that you want to implement, how to implement them is so exciting. And how will you implement them, and how will you get people together, and that whole thing. So, what impact? I said a whole lot, but we're gonna be closing, and you have the last word. How's that?
don't do me like that.
No,
Um,
but what impact, or
I I want to speak to all men
mm,
and young men so that we can better our world. You
mm,
know, the cycle of life is on us.
mm,
That is the impact, and I'm not going to see it. This will happen long after I'm gone. I mean,
mhm, mhm,
I want my grandchildren and my children's grandchildren and my children's grandchildren to echo the words of being powerful and being influential and being the strength and the backbone of a community, of their homes.
mm,
Um, that's what I want. And right now, those discussions need to be had. It needs, like I said, need to start with the mental health. It needs to start with a different aspect. It needs to start with different things. And we're in a
mhm,
place now where we can really take advantage of that, not just as this household, but as a community, as a whole, as a world.
mhm, mhm,
Uh,
mhm,
that's what I'm hoping as far as the impact. You know,
mm. Cool. Well, I look forward to more conversations and seeing you make that impact and supporting you and having that impact.
dig that,
Well,
dig that.
thank you so much
You're
for
welcome. Thank you for having me.
yeah, this is really cool. And I'll definitely talk to you more and look to see you spreading that message and making it happen out there.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Take care. Love you.
Love you too.
Well, thank you for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G. And I'm here every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here on WEMS Radio Live. You can find me on Facebook, on YouTube, and on the WEMS Radio app. So I'd like to leave you today with the words of how are you making an impact in your community, and what can you do to support children and having them live their best life, and teaching them and supporting them in any way that we can. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week. But you can also find me every day on Facebook, Reverend Grenetta Mason, Instagram, Rev Grenetta, and on YouTube, Reverend Grenetta Mason. I will see you soon.